Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, Asha's Ashe. It's me, V. This channel explores how Black folks can use our power, our Ashe, to transcend and liberate ourselves using and through the lens of Black Liberation Theology, decolonization, and Afropessimism. I am happy and glad to be back. It's been a long time. I had to leave you, and now I'm back. So yeah, thank you for joining me, and I hope y'all enjoy today's episode. Yeah. So I've been having really great conversations with folks about Black liberation, about how the current state of, American politics and fascism, and how until Americans, specifically non-Black Americans, as a whole, come to terms with and recognize the function, importance, and I'm not sure if this is a word, but like essentiality of anti-Blackness and white supremacy is to the foundation of this country. The fascism and all the things will never, end. And in those conversations, I was asked about like some of the books and, the books that I read and the things that I intake that make my mind go yum. And so today's video is a book and media recommendation list, specifically books and medias that really embody not only my values, but the spirit of this channel. Also, if I sound like I'm out of breath, I am. Please remember to mask, get your COVID and your flu shots. I am out of breath because I caught COVID from a roommate of mine, and I now have asthma. And so when I talk for too long, a bitch can't breathe. But yeah, keep yourself and your family safe. As always, check the link in my bio for all of my links to schedule tarot reading. Check out my new-ish Substack, where I post poems, or the occasional poem, and articles that are in the theme but don't necessarily fit snugly in the theme of this channel. My Letterboxd, there might be some other links on there. Check it out. Yeah, also please leave your own, if not 5 suggestions, whether that's books, media, artists, in the comment section below. I always love to hear y'all's feedback. And a seamless transition, the first book on the book list is a book that was recommended by a subscriber. He recommended Yurugu. Oh, she matches! So Yurugu, this is a book by Dr. Marimba Ani. It is an African-centered critique of European thought and cultural thought and behavior. It is 600 pages. I'm on chapter 2. I think I'm like 100-something pages in. Yeah, I'm not even 200 pages in. This is a thick girl. This book is incredible thus far, and I suspect it will be one of the best books that I ever read in my life. It's just one of the most thorough and incredible books I've ever read. And again, I'm only on chapter 2. Chapter 2 is religion and ideology. Cultural structuring of thought, so how we're taught to think, religion and ideology, aesthetic, the power of symbols. Chapter 4, self-image. Chapter 5, image of others. 6, rhetoric and behavior, intercultural behavior. Chapter 8, behavior towards others. 9, progress as ideology. Universalism, the syntax of cultural imperialism. I would say if these are not thoughts and ideas and ideals that you're not only willing to confront in the outside world and others, but in yourself, probably don't read it, because you're not gonna like it. Yurugu removes the mask from the European facade and thereby reveals the inner workings of global white supremacy, a system which functions to guarantee the control of Europe and her descendants, the few, over the majority of the world's people, the many. It is a devastating critique which uniquely focuses on the intellectual/cognitive rules by which the system of dominance operates, the assumption, ascendance, and valorization of the rational mode. Dr. Marimba Ani, I'm going to call her Ali this whole time, Annie, exposes the roles of both the academic and Christian establishment in proselytizing as universal that which is indeed culturally specific to Europe, and which therefore functions in the interest of European dominance, since that is the nature of the Dr. Marimba Ani has written the first bona fide textbook from an African-centered framework which focuses on European consciousness, the European worldview, and its global system of race domination. This book is an original, scholarly, comprehensive, and thorough analysis which lays out, in systemic detail, the historical development and pattern of European world domination, its core structures, and key expressive components. She particularly articulates very clearly the nature of the European survival thrust in terms of its philosophical core, methodology, basic tactics, expression, and consequences. Her book represents the final key to the African world breaking the death grip of European world domination over Africans. This brilliant and courageous effort on the part of our distinguished sister warrior is a must-reading for all African/Black studies students and faculty, and all serious-minded Africans everywhere who are dedicated and committed to rebuilding African world order. It will definitely become an essential part of the handbook for Africans surviving the 21st century. Thank you for the recommendation, Financial Analyst Guy 31. Go read this book. Number 2 on the list. I feel like if you know me, if not personally from the channel, you know what this is. It is going to be Afropessimism by Frank B. Wilderson III. Now, it's not nearly as huge. This is the best book, that nonfiction book that I've ever read in my entire life. This is the Black Bible. This is a book that was on my reading list for 5 years, I would say, prior to me reading it in the summer of last year of 2024. This is the complete and honest truth of what the Black experience is. Frank B. Wilderson is not only a mastermind, he's not only a genius. His prose, the way that he's poetic, he's funny as hell. Like, in one section of this book, he mentions that when he was in school, a missionary came and asked for money to send back to the kids to Africa, to evangelize them. And he said, if you want my Snickers money, you're going to have to go to Africa and come back with a signed letter from the Africans saying that they want y'all there. And he was like 8. Pretty sure he's an Aries. I would say that I'm a different person after reading this book, but I think more importantly, I am able to stand more confidently in the knowledge that I have about myself, about Black folks, about our experience in this world because of this book. The back of the Black Bible, long listed for the National Book Award and hailed as a bellwether of things to come, Aaron Robinson, whoever that is. Afropessimism exploded conventional theories of race relations in America, presenting the tenets of an intellectual movement that sees Blackness through the lens of perpetual slavery. Drawing on the works of Gramsci and Fanon. I don't know who Gramsci is, so I'm adding that to the book list, because as well as on literature, film, and critical theory, Frank B. Wilderson III, one of our boldest and most unflinching theorists of the indispensability of anti-Black violence and racism, powerfully demonstrates that the social construct of slavery is not, in fact, a relic of the past, but the very engine that powers our civilization. Yes. Without this master-slave dynamic, Wilderson argues, the calculus bolstering world civilization would collapse. Interwoven with autobiographical stories that juxtaposes Wilderson's seemingly idyllic upbringing in mid-century Minneapolis with the abject racism he later encountered in Berkeley, California, and South Africa, Afropessimism not only delivers a formidable philosophical account of Blackness, but depicts a remarkable life lived with daring and sincerity. Ultimately, Wilderson provides no restorative solution. Instead, he encourages us to recognize these historical and social conditions, and thus the reality of our inherently racialized existence. The thing that got me into this book was this poem that is on page 17 For Halloween, I washed my face and wore my school clothes, went door to door as a nightmare. Y'all not fucking with him. Tree. Wretched. I'm embarrassed to hold up this copy of this book. Like, oh my god. Wretched of the Earth by Franz. Fanon. Yeah. This book. Now, I started reading this book, I want to say in 2021, and I never finished it. And I went back, and it just... Can you... Oh, it's so bright you, like, can't see, but, like... Blew me away. This is a hard read, because this nigga is smart. Like, smarter than me, smarter than maybe everyone that's ever lived. He was a psychiatrist, an Algerian, I want to say. Yes, Franz Fanon, 1925 to 1961, was born in Martinique and studied medicine in France, specializing in psychiatry. Sent to a hospital in Algeria, he found his sympathies turning towards the Algerian nationalist movement, which he later joined. He is the author of Black Skins, White Masks, which Frank, if not specifically references in Afropessimism, recommends, A Dying Colonialism and Toward the African Revolution. Franz Fanon was one of the 20th century's most important theorists of revolution, colonialism, and racial difference, and this, his masterwork, is a classic alongside Orientalism and the autobiography of Malcolm X. The Wretched of the Earth is a brilliant analysis of the psychology of the colonized and their path to liberation, bearing the psychology. Yeah. Bearing singular insight into the rage of colonized people and the role of violence in historical change. The book also incisively attacks post-independence disenfranchisement of the masses by the elite on one hand, and intertribal and interfaith animosities on the other. A veritable handbook of social reorganization for leaders of emerging nations, The Wretched of the Earth has had a major impact on civil rights, anti-colonialism, and Black consciousness movements around the world. This new translation updates its language for a new generation of readers, and its lessons are more vital now than ever. This book, on page 149, he says, this is a note that I just found, but I think is really, really interesting and important. At the level of the unconscious, therefore, colonialism was not seeking to be perceived by the indigenous population as a sweet, kind-hearted mother who protects her children from a hostile environment, but rather a mother who constantly prevents her basically perverse child from committing suicide or giving free rein to its malevolent instincts. The colonial mother is protecting the child from itself, from its ego, its physiology, its biology, and its ontological misfortune. And at one instance in the book, he speaks about how the colonized love dancing and how they find relief in and exert, right, this energy, this rage in the club instead of through revolutions. Okay, number 4, Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. This is my absolute favorite fiction work to date as an adult. This book was also read quickly. Like, I sped through this book the summer again of 2024. This is a sci-fi book, a black science fiction book that really revolutionized, or further revolutionized, I guess, the way that I understand myself spiritually, the role of, or like the idea of God, and life itself. Yeah, I would also say that the scariest part of this book is that it begins in July of 2024, which is terrifying, you know, when you, yeah. So, when global climate change and economic crises lead to social chaos in the early 2020s. California becomes full of dangers from pervasive water shortage, AI, to masses of vagabonds who will do anything to live to see another day. 15-year-old Lauren Olamina, her middle name is Oya, which is the Orisha of change and wind, lives inside a gated community with her preacher father, family and neighbors, sheltered from the surrounding anarchy. In a society where any vulnerability is a risk, she suffers from hyperempathy, a debilitating sensitivity to others' emotions. Precocious, beautiful word, and clear-eyed, Lauren must make her voice heard in order to protect her loved ones from the imminent dangers her small community stubbornly ignores. But what begins as a fight for survival soon leads to something much more, the birth of a new faith and a startling vision of human destiny. The thing that this book imprinted that I want to share is all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. This is just in the forward. God is power, infinite, irresistible, inexorable, indifferent, and yet God is pliable, trickster, teacher, chaos, clay. God exists to be shaped. God is change. This book, I think, really interacts with where we are, not just in America, but globally, in such a new, specific, prophetic, because this was written, oh my God, when was this written? In 1993? In such a prophetic and specific and spiritual way that I think reading this, especially as a work of fiction, and the nature and like the events of this book really changes the way, hopefully for the better, and propels us to action, the way that we think and interact with the world around us, if not shape change and allow ourselves to be shaped by change. Absolutely incredible. I highly recommend this book. At the beginning of each chapter, there's a little quote. Chapter 5, belief initiates and guides action, or it does nothing. And for chapter 6, she says, drowning people sometimes die fighting their rescuer. Last but not least is Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, The Communist Manifesto. Now, this is a book that I also have not yet read, or that I have not yet read, but I am recommending, that I plan to read. Though I would definitely self-describe as a communist, I do believe that, the people should own the means of production, that everything should be paid for by the government, food, housing, transportation, education, healthcare, that if you need it to survive and to thrive, the government, which in my belief is only there and is responsible, to the best of its ability and its reach for the health and wealth of its citizens, should subsidize, pay for, and take care of those things. This is a book and a concept and a ideology that many folks, including myself to a certain extent, right, do not understand, that they fear just with the name of communist, and that has been a very concerted effort on not only the capitalist forces in this world, but most specifically America. And that is to say, for anybody that might have, gotten a little, because there was the communist, what was it called? A reminder that the Black Panther Party was, and still to this day, the most successful communist organization in the history of America. And paired with this, I would also recommend another book that I have yet to read, which is Black Marxism. Marxism coming after Karl Marx. Anyways, the Communist Manifesto, 1848, Marx and Engels' revolutionary summons to the working class, is one of the most important and influential political theories ever formulated. After 4 years of collaboration, the authors produced this incisive account of their idea of communism, in which they envisage envision, but fancier it seems, a society without classes, private property, or a state. They argue that increasing exploitation of industrial workers will eventually lead to a revolution in which capitalism is overthrown. This vision provided the theoretical basis of political systems in Russia, China, Cuba, and Eastern Europe, affecting the lives of millions. The Communist Manifesto remains a landmark text, a work that continues to influence and provoke debate on capitalism and class. This is a translation, so it was something. Let the ruling classes tremble at a communistic revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. I would also like to add the caveat that communism with authoritarianism, however you say that word, they beating me up today, and chauvinism and white supremacy and patriarchy is still booty cheeks and ass. But I think these books, don't make me pull them all out, really form the, I guess, ideological basis of what this channel is about, which is empowering specifically Black folks, consciously, intellectually, spiritually, economically, in all ways, to live the lives that we deserve, but to self-determination.